Hello, namaskar, namaskara, namaskaram, namaskar. My name is Pooja Devedi. Welcome to my class. Today we are going to discuss that bill that will heavily impact the governance and administration of Delhi. This is the Government of NCT of Delhi Bill 2023. As you can see beside me, I have put it in huge words. Now, moving ahead, I would like to tell you that various aspects are going to be covered. We are going to critically analyze this bill because it has more criticisms than the positives. The positives, as said by the center, it is going to ensure corruption-free administration of Delhi. But we are going to discuss it critically because a good critical question can be formulated. I have put a mains question by the end of this class. Those of you who are watching it can attempt that question, mains question, and you can contact me through my Telegram or my Instagram that you want to get it evaluated. I will evaluate it and send it back to you. So make sure that you watch till the end. If you want the notes of the class that I provide on this particular YouTube channel, StudyIQ IAS English, it is going to be provided on my Telegram channel. If you have anything regarding, any question regarding this examination, you can also contact me through my Instagram. Alright, let's move forward and talk about the various things that we have to cover. Rajya Sabha has recently gave a nod to the bill which will impact the administration and governance of Delhi. The tussle between the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi, the LG, who is appointed by the President, and the democratically elected government headed by the Chief Minister, the tussle is not hidden from us. And this is a manifestation of that tussle only. The tussle which has been almost given a pause or an end by the center. We'll discuss that. See, if we have to, of course, know about Delhi, Delhi is a union territory. A union territory is formulated on various grounds. Whenever there is the necessity of efficient administration, a union territory is created so that the center can have a say in it. In 1956, because of the State Reorganization Act, Delhi became a union territory. And from 1991 onwards, we have seen various articles dictating various acts that have helped Delhi to be in a shape that it is today. So from 1991 to 1992, the 69th Constitutional Amendment Act, according to Article 239 AA, is passed to ensure that Delhi will become a union territory with legislature. There is another union territory that has a legislature, that is Puducherry. And of course, when it has a legislature, that means we have to fill that legislature with the help of elections so that the legislature can get an executive and the executive is accountable to the legislature. This is the principle of collective responsibility. Then the Government of National Capital Delhi, Territory of Delhi Act 1991 is passed. After that, the 70th Constitutional Amendment is passed that provided for certain laws of Parliament, that is amending Article 239 AA, to not be deemed as an amendment to the Constitution. This is more so in order to ensure that Delhi is administrated efficiently. Then moving ahead to the other parts of it, from 2015 onwards, we have been witnessing a good amount of tussle. This tussle not only consists of the center and the state government, but the judiciary has also become a part of it. So let's see that. 2015 Ministry of Home Affairs issued a notification taking away control over services from the Delhi legislature and empowering the Lieutenant Governor to discharge functions of the central government in relation to the same. So this goes back to 2015 when the Ministry of Home Affairs thought, why should the CM have all the powers when it comes to the services? The bureaucrats, let's make it sure that the Lieutenant Governor has it. Then 2016, Delhi High Court held that services lie outside the purview of the Delhi Legislative Assembly and Executive. The Delhi High Court held that these services lies outside the purview of Delhi Legislative Assembly. CM does not have any powers when it comes to the services. It's outside their purview. Who said that? The Delhi High Court. 2018, the Supreme Court said, okay, let me look into this. So Supreme Court says that LG must act on the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers. LG can have their discretion, but it should make sure that the principle of collective responsibility is held. If it wants to function, if it wants to ensure that LG is functioning clearly, who will advise? The Council of Ministers. That is what the Supreme Court said. Also, in 2019, a two-judge bench of the Supreme Court delivered a split verdict. That means one judge said something else and the another judge said something else. That created a split judgment. Whenever there is a split judgment, then of course the Supreme Court will again come into the picture. 2021 Union Government amends the GNCTD Act of 1991, which will expand the list of matters where the opinion of the Lieutenant Governor was mandatory. Lieutenant Governor is, the Secretary is trying to say, look, LG is not just a white elephant. This is what the center wanted to say to the CM of Delhi. And it will be mandatory for you to bring certain matters to him. And the nature of bills that LG could refer to the president was also one of them. That means the government started showing that your laws, your bills, which you, the state legislative assembly, is thinking that you can make laws. No, certain bills can be brought to the president by the lieutenant governor. 2023 comes. Here, the Supreme Court reiterated what it said in 2018 only. That means the LG will have to take the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers, okay? And the Supreme Court rules that Delhi government has control over services in Delhi. Of course, the State Legislative Assembly, if it has to execute the plans it has made laws on, whom will it rest upon? As in, whom will it rely upon? I have made plans and laws, I want to execute it. I will look towards the bureaucracy, right? Not to someone else. But now the state is saying that the bureaucracy is ours. You will execute those plans and those laws, which will be, of course, certain laws will be made by us, but your laws can be executed, but you will not have the control over them. So this actually breaks the triple chain of accountability. We will get to that as well. Today's question is with respect to the triple chain of accountability only. Okay. Central government promulgates an ordinance in retaliation to this. An ordinance was passed, and that was to exclude services from the purview of the Delhi legislature. This tussle was with respect to the services only. Since a very long period of time, not actually related to the services, but in order to show that the center has the powers with respect to services, with respect to the actual execution of the plan. That was the basic crux of this entire scenario. And the GNCTD bill was introduced to replace the ordinance. We know that ordinance cannot go for long. Now, moving on. Union territories, they are directly governed by the president or an administrator who has been appointed by the president. In this case, we have the LG. And the Delhi Legislative Assembly has the power to legislate on the subjects related to the state list and the concurrent list. We all know that on the concurrent list, both the center and the states can make laws. But if there is a conflict of opinion, who will prevail? The center will prevail. And this will exclude the laws which the Delhi State Legislative Assembly will make, will exclude police, public order and land. And on these three only, the Delhi government says time and again that please give us the statehood so that we can have control power. The thing is that Delhi Legislative Assembly cannot make laws on these three. That has been upheld by the Supreme Court as well. But it can have executive powers. If I have to give effect to a plan of action, then I can have, as Delhi State Legislative Assembly, I can have powers over them. But I will not have powers to make law on them. Remember that. And Parliament has the powers to legislate over all the matters in the state and the concurrent list related to Delhi. To whosoever it may concern, this is something that the Constitution itself has provided and various acts have provided. And this is something that you have to know. Any law that comes into the picture has its roots in the Constitution. When words and terms are very open-ended, it becomes really easy to exploit those loopholes and make laws come into existence. Okay, the Lieutenant Governor is designated as the administrator of Delhi. and he or she operates with the aid and advice of the Council of Delhi. The Government of NCT of Delhi Act of 1991 states many things, such as what are the powers of the assembly, the discretionary powers of the LG, that means on matters, the matters on which the LG can have a sole say upon, not sole, we can say a discretion upon, and that discretion would work how? When I have to show my discretion, I will of course first of all consult myself with certain people. These people would be those people who have been elected. This is how parliamentary democracy works. I will not wake up all of a sudden and start making laws for this particular country if I am not elected democratically. This is how our democracy actually should work. And the Chief Minister's duty to provide information to the LG is also directed by this particular act. Now, of course, on May 11th, 2023, the Supreme Court gave its verdict. I have already told you that, but let's walk through that. The control of services, the question was the control of services with respect to the central government and the Delhi government, both. Will it rest with the CM or the elected government headed by the CM or the LG who has been appointed by the president? And it was pronounced in this particular verdict that the Delhi government will have control over services in Delhi. It will not extend to subjects of police, public order and land. This has been upheld. Now, this was a reiteration of a 2018 judgment in which it was said that LG didn't have an independent decision-making power. Of course, he will have to or she will have to look at the Council of Ministers. It was he or she was bound to follow the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers. Then, this particular ordinance, it was replaced by the bill, and that was also challenged by the Supreme Court. Now it has passed in both Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. Now it will get the assent of the president. It will come into existence. Don't worry about that. Now let's look at the difference. The difference is very meager, but still. In the ordinance, Delhi's legislative competence over the services was completely vanished, but it wasn't mentioned in this particular bill. Powers to appoint authorities, boards, commissions, statutory bodies or office bearers will lie with the president. Powers to appoint the office bearers, authorities, boards, commission will lie with the president for any law of the parliament. When there has to be a law made by the parliament, then the president will be the one who is in charge. When it comes to the law of Delhi legislature, the state legislative assembly is legislating over certain matters. The power will rest with the lieutenant governor. Then next is the civil services authority that has been established by this particular ordinance, and thereafter the bill will submit an annual report to the central government. That means the state government is like bypassed. It will be the central government who will look at the reports, the annual reports, and the Delhi government as well, because Delhi government here is secondary, which will be tabled in parliament and both the Delhi legislative assembly, but this hasn't been mentioned in the bill. Then any matter of administrative importance which the president or the Delhi chief minister may consider necessary will be submitted to the LG prior to the issue of any order. Then any matter of administrative importance which the Delhi CM may consider necessary will be submitted to the LG prior to the issue of any order. Here we had whom? President or the Delhi chief minister, but here president was omitted. Now, this particular bill establishes an authority. This authority is the National Capital Civil Service Authority. What will it do? It will make recommendation to the LG of Delhi, Lieutenant Governor, on certain matters which are related to services. Where is the CM? He is a part of this. But to whom the recommendations will be made? To the LG. What will be the status of transfer or posting of people who are in these services? Matters related to vigilance. How should we make them responsible and accountable? How should we check their integrity? If there has to be any proceedings against them in order to discipline them, that will also be recommended to the Lieutenant Governor. If we have to charge them, if we have to prosecute them, then also Lieutenant Governor will be there. This will be for Group A of All India Services. There will be an exception for whom? The IPS. And the services for Delhi, Andaman and Nicobar also lies here. Moving on. Who all will be a part of this particular authority? CM of Delhi, chairperson. Now, see. how the power seems to be given and taken away. This is very interesting. This bill is interesting in itself. You will find it very, you can say, interesting to study and much more interesting to understand. CM has been a part of this. CM has become a part of this as the chairperson. Wow. Thumbs up, double thumbs up to this. Principal Home Secretary of the Delhi government will be the member secretary, and the Chief Secretary of the Delhi government will be the member. Who will appoint these two? These two will be appointed by the central government. The quorum for, and when we talk about decision making will be by majority. Majority wins. 2 against 1. Quorum is only 2 for this meeting. Any meeting that has to be done, it can be done between 2 people. Supposedly, sometimes we have the CM of Delhi and the Principal Home Secretary, or Principal Home Secretary, Chief Secretary, or CM of Delhi. And as you can see, this is really so clever that the central government has brought in. Majority and 2 people are ours, the central government's. And CM, okay, we can outvote him because decision making of this authority in conflict of opinion will be made by the majority. And when I have 2 people in the majority, I do not have to worry about the CM anymore. This is one of the criticism. It may look funny, it may seem clever, but eventually it will hurt the constitutional provisions. We'll get to that as well. Powers of the Lieutenant Governor, let's talk about that. Matters which are outside, some matters have to be brought to the Lieutenant Governor so that they can have sole discretion. What is meant by discretion and sole discretion? This is very open-ended. This is another criticism. On what basis can we differentiate between discretion and sole discretion? Does sole discretion mean we do not have to even think or bother about the Council of Ministers? Does this mean that? Now, matters outside the legislative competence of the Delhi Legislative Assembly, but which have been delegated to the Lieutenant Governor. And matters where he is required by law to act in his discretion or exercise any judicial or quasi-judicial functions. In these two matters, the Lieutenant Governor will have sole discretion. And the approval, he or she will also approve the recommendations of the authority or return them for consideration. Now, this is another very important point. The Lieutenant Governor, if they think, because the authority will eventually make recommendations to the LG. LG is very powerful now. Now, if the LG thinks, now this is not sitting well with me, can you reconsider this? They may also send it back for reconsideration. Moving on, disposal of matters by ministers. If a minister of the Delhi government he or she may issue standing orders for the disposal of matters brought to his attention. The order should be issued in consultation with the concerned department secretary. Now, department secretary is also a part of the services. Certain matters must be submitted to the LG through the chief minister and the chief secretary. As you can see, there has been a hierarchy that has been made. Matters will be brought to the LG. By whom? By the CM and the chief secretary for his opinion prior to the issue of any order. That means if the CM and the Delhi government wants to issue any order, it has to now go to the LG. Here, both the people are important, chief secretary and chief minister. On what matters? If I am the CM of Delhi, I have to issue any order to maintain the peace and tranquility of Delhi, I will go to the LG. If I have to maintain relations between the Delhi government, central government, supreme government, or the other state governments, I will go to the LG. Summoning, calling the house for something. Prorogation, dismissing the house. Dissolution of the Legislative Assembly, the power now rests with the Lieutenant Governor. Matters on which LG is to give an order on his sole discretion. Now, on what matters will he or she has to make a sole discretion? That is also very open-ended. Another criticism. There are also duties of secretaries which have been given. The concerned department secretaries must bring certain matters to the notice of the LG, the chief minister and the chief secretary. Now, LG can never be out of the picture according to this bill. LG will be a part of Delhi's every move. He or she is not just a decoration piece. Then they may also bring the Delhi government into controversy, as in any matters which actually concerns with respect to controversy between Delhi government with the central government or the Supreme Court or the High Court of Delhi, that also has to be brought to the LG, the Chief Minister and the Chief Secretary. These are the works of department secretaries. What is controversial? Who decides that? That is also another problem, because some things, this is very subjective. I may think of something as controversial, but others may not. So very subjective. As it is not defined in the constitution, not in the act, it has not been defined in the bill, that creates an issue. The bill, now these are the criticisms. The bill may be violating the constitution because the authority has 3 members, 2 members, the principal home secretary and the other person, the member secretary, I guess. Let me see, just check it. Member secretary it was, right? Yes. And the chief secretary, beg your pardon, not the member secretary, chief secretary, they will be, of course, now under whom? As in the authority, both the persons, the chief secretary and the principal home secretary are being appointed by the central government. And they may outvote the CM because majority is needed, right? Majority is needed to make any sort of decision. So bill grants the LG to power to override the recommendation of the authority as well. Even if CM does not see eye to eye with the center, the CM is powerless here. And that breaks the triple chain of accountability. Let's see how. This triple chain of accountability has been upheld by the Supreme Court in 2023 verdict. How? Civil servants are accountable to ministers. Every civil servant, when you will become a civil servant, you will get a department and that department will have a minister. That minister, to him or her, you will be accountable. Then the minister is accountable to the legislature, right? As a minister, if I am doing any good work or bad work, I will be reprimanded or praised by whom? The legislature. Because the ministers, they are part of the legislature as well and the executive. There is a link. Minister is a link between you as a civil servant and the legislature. Whatever laws are being made, the minister will tell, these laws have been made for my department, you will have to execute it. Now, of course, as a Delhi minister, I actually am responsible to the legislature. And if your control is not resting with me, your execution is not resting with me, as in your services, your transfer, your promotion is resting with the central government, will I be motivated or not? Just think about that. Then, legislatures are accountable to the electorate. That means to the people. And eventually, who will lose here? The electorates will lose here. Let's see in application, how does it build upon? So this is the triple chain of accountability. And when this gets hurts, the parliamentary democracy gets hurt. Because this is a chain that we have built since ages. The constitution has mandated us, as in through its bodies. Moving on. Then LG may not be bound to act on the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers. According to Article 239 AA, LG has to act with the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers. But when he or she is exercising discretion, it may not be possible. Now, the Transaction of Business Rules of the GNCTT 1993 provides that certain matters must be submitted to the LG through the Chief Minister and the Chief Secretary. If I will just bypass the Council of Ministers, is it really a democracy? Because the people have elected them into power, and if they have elected them into power, they would want them to work for them, right? Not somebody who is not elected. So this is also another problem. This also hurts what? If any problem arises with respect to the administration of Delhi, who will be responsible? Here, the Council of Ministers will now lose the principle of collective responsibility. This is one of the things. Then, when it comes to the peace and tranquility of Delhi, relations of the Delhi government with any state and Supreme Court and the High Court, all this was already mentioned, but there is an addition, relations of Delhi government with the central government. This has been added. Who decides how and on what basis one must regulate the Delhi government and the central government's relationship? It is the LG now. The 1991 Act said that the LG has powers to summon, prorogue and dissolve the Legislative Assembly. He was accordingly bound by the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers. Now the bill says that the LG can override the powers of the CM. the elected government. If now the CM would want to convene the house, to summon the house for some important law, it will be the LG. He may go to the LG. But the LG can override the decision. Mr. CM, it's not really necessary now. Why should we pass this order? So this is not done, right? Exercise sole discretionary powers on these matters. These matters include sole discretionary powers now. I hope you're understanding. Certain terms in the bill are actually unclear. Unclear as in sole discretion power of the LG. What is this? How can we differentiate between sole discretion and discretion? Matters outside the legislative competence of Delhi Legislative Assembly, but which have been delegated to the Lieutenant Governor. Matters where he is required by a law to act in his discretion or exercise any quasi-judicial function. Here, the sole discretion will occur. Again, I say, where is the differentiation? Criteria for certain matters brought to the notice of LG may be overbroad. That means it shall be too broad to be accepted. As in, concerned department secretaries must bring certain matters to the LG Chief Minister and Chief Secretary. Delhi government, if it is having any sort of controversy with the central or any state government, the Supreme Court or the High Court, it may be brought directly to the LG. Enables the department secretaries to bill certain matters directly. When that happens, I am bypassing the elected government. I am the department secretary. If I do not go to the chief minister or any other minister of my concerned department, I am going directly to the LG. Then it actually harms the democracy as a whole. This is what has happened. Now, if you like the way we teach, you can be a part of the P2I batches, which are starting from 11th of August. These are morning batches, 8 a.m. onwards. You will get many things here. It's a one-stop solution. Prelims test series, mains test series, daily answer writing practice, current affairs module, everything is here. You do not need to worry about anything once you get enrolled in this batch. Mentors, teachers will be directly in contact with you. Don't worry about that as well. Live batches are there. That means you will be able to interact with the teachers. Batches will be available in English and Hindi. And if you provide the code PDLive, okay, you will get this batch from 70,000 to 29,999. Now, let's look at the question. This question you have to attempt. This question you have to submit today only. That means prior to, you can say 12 a.m. So by midnight, answers should come to me. If you're interested in writing, I will evaluate them. Explain the triple chain of accountability in the context of the Government of National Capital Territory of Delhi Amendment Bill 2023 in 250 words only. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Stay updated.